If you're a developer, you've probably asked yourself this 1,000 times. How can I build one app that runs everywhere without, tripling my workload? Well, today we're going to dig into a really powerful answer to that question. It's called the B4XPages framework.
So, picture this. It's the classic developer dilemma, right? You've got this amazing app idea. You want it on Android, you want it on iOS, and of course, you want it on the desktop. But does that really mean you have to build and maintain 3 totally separate, complicated projects? Ugh! That's exactly the headache we're going to solve today.
And this is exactly where B4XPages comes into the picture. Its whole reason for being is to solve that exact problem. It unifies your project structure, making development across B4A, B4I, and B4J so much simpler. The bottom line? You get to focus on actually building your cool app, not just juggling a bunch of different code bases. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're really nailed down the challenge we're facing. Then, we're going to dissect the anatomy of a B4X project. And yep, create one from scratch. After that, we'll get into adding and showing pages, and we'll finish up with what I like to call the magic of the shared files feature.
Okay, let's dive into our first topic, the cross-platform challenge. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of how B4XPages works, let's get super clear on the problem it was actually built to fix. At the end of the day, it's all about making a developer's life easier. The big idea here is something called abstraction. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like this. B4XPages is a universal translator for your app. You write your app's logic in one language, and it handles the tricky conversations with Android, iOS, and the desktop. What you get is this one unified program flow, which means you can stay focused on the big picture, your vision, instead of getting lost in the technical weeds of each platform.
So how does it pull this off? How does the framework actually do all this? Well, it all begins with the project structure. Let's take a look at the blueprint that B4XPages lays out for every single new app you create.
And there you have it. The second you create a new B4XPages project, this is what you get. A super clean, totally logical folder structure. Everything is just perfectly organized right from the get-go. Okay, let's break down what each of these folders does. You've got your B4A, B4I, and B4J folders. Those hold anything that's specific to each platform. But the real magic, the real power, is in that shared files folder and the B4X main page module. Now that B4X main page is a class module, which is just a fancy way of saying it's the main blueprint for how your app behaves. This is where all your common code lives. The code you're going to write just once and use absolutely everywhere.
All right, enough talk, enough theory. Let's actually get our hands dirty. We're going to walk through the process of creating your very first B4XPages project, and you'll see just how simple it is. And I'm not kidding, it really is as simple as these 5 steps. You open your IDE, the main program where you write all your code, click New Project, pick B4XPages, give it a name, and that's it. You're ready to roll. Let's see exactly what that looks like in action.
Okay, so once you're inside your IDE, the process couldn't be easier. You just head up to File, click New, and then pick the B4XPages project type from that list of options.
Next up, you're going to see this dialog box pop up. All you have to do is give your project a name, something like My First Program is Perfect, pick a folder to save it in, and this is important, make sure that Create New Folder box is checked. It just keeps everything nice and tidy in its own little spot.
And just like that, the second you hit OK, the IDE goes to work and generates this for you. This is your B4X main page, and it's already filled out with a standard template. I mean, think about it. You already have a fully functional, albeit simple, cross-platform app just waiting for you to start building on it. Okay, so we've got our project, our basic shell. But, most apps have more than one page, right? So let's check out how B4XPages handles adding new screens and letting you navigate between them. The first command you've got to know is AddPage, and it's super simple. You just give each page a unique ID, which is just a piece of text, like page 1 or settings, and then you hand over the page object itself. That's all it takes to register the page with the framework.
And here's what that looks like in the actual code. We're calling AddPage, we're giving it the ID page 1, and we're telling it about the page 1 object. Boom! The framework now knows this page exists and is ready to be shown to the user.
So, you've added the page. Now how do you actually make it show up on the screen? Well, that's where ShowPage comes in. All you do is call it and give it that same unique ID you used a second ago with AddPage. And here it is. You call ShowPage with page 1, and that page will pop right up for the user.
It really is a clean and simple two-step process. First, you add the page, then you show the page. Easy.
Okay, now for our last section. And honestly, this is arguably the most powerful feature for your day-to-day work. We need to talk about the Shared Files folder and how it really truly delivers on that promise of write once, use everywhere.
I'm telling you, this is where the framework becomes an absolute time saver. That Shared Files folder is the key to managing all your assets. We're talking images, databases, config files across all your platforms without ever having to duplicate your work. It is a total game changer.
So how does it all work? It's actually genius, and it's so simple. Let's say you have your company logo. You just drop that image file into the Shared Files folder, just once. Then later, when you compile your app, for Android or iOS or desktop, the build process automatically copies that logo into the correct folder for each platform. You manage one file, not three. It's incredible.
So what's this secret sauce here? How does this magic actually happen? Well, believe it or not, it's all powered by this one single line of code that's already in your project template. It's what's called a custom build action. It just uses a standard file copying tool to sync everything up when you compile your app, when you turn your code into an actual program. It's just smart automation, pure and simple.
All right, let's do a quick recap. What we learned? Well, B4XPages gives you a super organized structure right out of the box. Creating a new project is incredibly easy thanks to the template. Moving between pages is a breeze with AddPage and ShowPage. And, maybe most importantly, that Shared Files folder gives you true, effortless reusability for all your assets.
So there you have it. That's the fundamental blueprint for building a really powerful cross-platform app. You've got the structure, you have the tools for navigation, and you know the secret to managing your files efficiently. So really, the only question left is, what amazing thing are you going to build first?